Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ebbenflow podcast. This is episode 9, and, I wanted to say it's a special episode, and it is, because it's massively different than my previous 8 episodes. It's similar to the recent one where I have a guest. I really like doing this guest thing here. Been doing solo episodes for seven of them, but yeah, super excited to have my guest on today. And before I get into the this is part of my introduction as well, but you can go through your life and be by yourself. You can do things by yourself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you can achieve so many things, like things that you would never thought were possible, like say a year ago, but it takes a shift in perspective on yourself to realize that you're all you need. And that shift in perspective changes not only your relationship with yourself, which is very important, but relationships with others as well. And when you're full within yourself, you don't need anything. You don't need to be anything. You also don't need anything from anybody. So in your interactions day to day, you allow people the space to be themselves, to express what they're expressing without any of your judgments or preconceived notions of them. They can just be. And those people, when you just let them be, are absolutely beautiful. It's like looking at a mountain. You don't have to tell the mountain to be anything. You're simply looking at it. It is being the mountain. And you can just see how beautiful it is and how integral it is to creation. And I have one of those mountains with me today. His name is Brad. And I've known Brad for a couple years now. And Brad is like one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. And part of allowing myself the magic of my life that he has offered to me is because I don't need Brad to be anything. Like, he's just the mountain. He's doing his own thing. He's got a countless amount of projects, and they're all expressions of his enthusiasm for whatever has affected him in life. And I think that's really beautiful. And it inspired me to reach out to Brad. I've kind of always wanted to do a podcast with Brad. So I'm really like appreciative that I have this platform now and that I get to do this with him in his house. This is my first in-person podcast as well. So this is super special for me. Brad, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say I'm honored that you took my offer to use my space as the place for the podcast studio. I have my own podcast as well. It's kind of on a hiatus right now, but I have a pretty robust podcast studio set up in here.
Plug away.
And for sure. Yeah, Bard of All Trades podcast. I will certainly have you on as a guest once I get things going with that. We'll have to set up like some kind of slack line or a disc golf basket or something.
Dude, that'd be sick.
Because I want to change the vibe up a little bit with it. But yeah, so I met Ben through work, and I have a few things that I feel like what's cool is like we have a lot of in-person interaction that we can share with each other a lot. And I just want to be a vessel to share some of the big key moments of Ben in my life with your audience as well.
Go ahead, man.
But in the beginning, when I first met you, you kind of stood out because I think there was like some descriptions of people and I heard you played like Ultimate Frisbee, and I'm like, oh, I played Ultimate Frisbee.
Mhm,
This is a
right.
cool dude. He's like a big giant man. Like he's a bro. Like I can
A
get
long
along with this
being.
guy. You know, a long boy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we were like enough in common that I got to approach you, and I know you had heard that I was living in a school bus, which I was at before I got the job. And you were like, man, I respect the vagabond lifestyle. I'm like, I'd love to learn more about it. And I know we've talked countless times about that. We can dig into it again if you'd like to.
Yeah.
But
Keep going, though.
I yeah. And
I'll
then
keep
one of the things that was really cool about you in that moment was like, oh, I like you were saying how much you respected it and how much you had aspired to go on your own quest, your own journey. And I'm like,
right.
oh man, this guy's real, dude.
Nice.
This is not a
Yeah.
corporate cat, bro. This dude's real. This is cool.
I
So
felt
we
those vibes,
we
too.
pretty quickly, I think, became fast friends. That was good.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say.
And then I guess I'll throw one other note about our early interactions. And this one I quote you all the time on this one, like very frequently. But we were talking about like I was probably doing something for jiu-jitsu where I was watching my weight and just like, like describing like my athletic journey or in some capacity or something like that. And I was like, man, like I just don't understand, like you can't just eat donuts all day and like do, like just play video games all day. And then you rebutted and said, well, you can, but there are consequences. And I'm like, damn, dude.
There you go.
So real. It's like you can do whatever you want, but there are consequences.
Exactly.
So that was that's one of my favorite Ben quotes, and I quote you all the time to
Appreciate
others,
that, man.
because that was such a big, simple thing that just resonated with me a ton. And
Yeah.
to this day, I live with it in my mind.
I appreciate that, man. Just to kind of go back to our first interactions, because I was gonna talk a little bit about that too. I ran the newsletter for our office, and one of the sections is like when a new employee joins the branch, they send like a little write-up of themselves and a picture. And so Brad sent his manager the write-up, and so when I got it, I was reading through it, and I was like, oh, this guy likes disc golf. Like I'm into disc golf, so that kind of prompted me. I forget how like our like first interactions went with Microsoft Teams, but I think it was over that first, before we met each other at the lab at Penn Medicine.
Yeah. Well, I remember. I think you're right. Maybe like I saw you in the office because I was just getting onboarded, and then maybe like we hit each other on Teams when like we discovered like more about each other or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we like there was like a first Thursday thing where we went out and had like beers
Right,
and
in the
appetizers,
city.
and then we
Yeah.
actually sat down and like we're kind of going in. I'm like, oh snap.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
So
we became like we started to understand each other a little bit more.
mhm. I agree, and in those Teams messages, because I remember the one message where it was about the bus, and
Yeah, most
like,
likely. Yeah.
because I had been wanting to, it's crazy the timing of life, because as I'm meeting Brad, I take my first solo trip to Nashville and Bonnaroo, which is actually really interesting because Bonnaroo's happening right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's an
so
EDM show, right?
It's like a multi-genre music festival.
Nice.
But
Let me know next time you go. Maybe I'll come out.
dude, that would be sick. I'd love to go to a music festival with you.
If the Lego blocks like with the new job lineup, we
Yeah,
can
if the
definitely,
stars align,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
But it's so, it's actually 2 years to this day of Bonnaroo. And that was such a transformative experience and trip for me, because I mean, it kind of sounds crazy to, like, at least in the environment that I grew up in, where if you go on trips, you go with other people. And so to like tell my family that I'm doing this solo trip was very shocking to them. They're like, you're not going with any friends? And I'm like, No, because this music and the music festival experience means so much to me that I really don't need anyone to go. I can just go and enjoy myself.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
It's all
like
good,
it's such a unique thing about you. Where like I've even told you, like, man, like that is such a unique and cool thing that's very uncommon in my experience. Even me, like as eccentric and like, you know, adventurous as I am, I'm usually, if I'm traveling alone, it's to meet up with other people that I do know. You know, I don't mind like some segment of the journey alone, so that you're you know, the bard joins the party. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like to be a solo adventurer on your own thing, and like to interact with new people, places, and things by yourself is like, that's amazing. It's beautiful and like and courageous. It's awesome.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
So much respect for that. You know?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it honestly, it takes a lot of balls to do that, and it took a lot of balls for me to go. But if something means that much to you, like, you can do it. And of course you may get some sort of backlash or resistance, but it's really, that resistance is the person that's giving you the resistance. You're kind of like breaking into like a next level of reality that they're not ready for themselves. So they're almost like trying to like bring you back into the space that they're familiar with. But again, it's like changing your perspective on yourself. You don't want to, but if you are so inclined to realize that life is basically an unlimited experience, it is. You can do literally whatever you want. I mean, that's kind of the only recognition you need.
Yeah.
So
I love that, man. Like just kind of like to your point, right? Like it is limited only by you, right? And I can't remember where I heard this quote, and maybe you've heard it before too, but it's one that like I feel like in the last, probably around COVID times is when I really started enacting it. But it's like every man has two lives, and his second life begins when he realizes he only has one. You know?
Yeah.
So that like when COVID hit, I lost my job, and like I had the bus. I'm like, because it was like our tour bus for one of my old bands. And it was like, man, if the stars didn't just align now for like me needing to do something with the bus, like God needs to punch me in the face to give me like to give me a better sign. Like, this is, if I'm going to do something with this, it's now. Now is the time. Now is the place, you know?
So when you went to live in your bus, like, kind of, you know, like talk a little bit about that. So like
sure.
You had to make it work because you had lost your job. So how did that kind of like, how did that go?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I could talk about this in like from an infinite number of angles, but for some reason the money is the first thing that came to mind. So let's talk about that, right?
Sure.
Just so I lost my job. I had like a nest egg, for lack of a better term. Like, I had some savings that I had bandwidth and resources that I could play with, right? But I needed to do something with them. I had just started playing around with stock investments and crypto pretty seriously. I was making, I would say like less than minimum wage with that stuff. I was successful doing it. I would not recommend anyone do that, though. I don't think it's like a secure way to do things, and there was other ways that I made money. One thing I did was I started pretty early on realizing because I was doing my podcast and I did some video game streaming in the past, I knew how to live stream, and I knew how to do it pretty well compared to everyone else I knew, like in my direct sphere. So people couldn't attend things because of COVID. So a need for us to broadcast it to remote viewers became a significant thing during the COVID time. So people were paying me to do that. I was making, again, not a lot of money, but I also like budgeted well. I'm not like I'm frugal, you know. I take my time. I'm good with resources. Like I enjoy eating out. Like
Oh, yeah,
I know where it matters to me that I'm gonna spend money. So like a ton of things. Like, I'll give you examples of like things like I did to build the bus up, right? Because like anyone that like watches YouTube, like, oh, like you can take this $5,000 bus that you buy, and then you put in like $10,000, and then it's blah blah blah.
How to live out of a bus.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and everyone's got like a price breakdown on everything. Me, I literally let me take a moment and think how much I put into the bus. I put in about $1,000. I put in realistically less than $2,000 worth into the power and solar, right? That's a huge important thing that if you get that brand new, it's probably the best move. If you get that stuff used, you're asking for trouble, right? But a lot of the wiring and other things like that, I either harvested from old like stuff, like there was like a box fan on the side of the road, and I needed like a length of 6-foot like power like cable. I would take the copper wire and use that to route like some things, legit.
Yeah.
Anytime,
like
I would MacGyver anything
Fallout
I could.
scavenge
Yeah,
type
100%,
type
100%.
shit.
I don't know what it is about my temperament that I'm very like. I'm sure it's because I play fucking video games like that, like not League of Legends, but Apex Legends, where like, open the bin, grab the batteries, the ammo, you know?
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
That's
Like, that's
true.
just one example. And it's not like I've always been that guy, but I feel like even at the earliest, like, you ever play Baldur's Gate? You know that game? It's kind of like
I haven't
Skyrim.
heard of that.
It's like a D&D type game, right?
Okay.
But you like kill monsters, and you have like only so much weight you can encumber. So you're like trying to figure out like, oh, pick up the swords, pick up the axes. Oh, the axes are so heavy. All right, let's teleport back to the shop so I can sell the axe and all this other shit. So I'm always saving money. Like even in Resident Evil, right? Like I'll have picked up the rocket launcher to fight the boss, and I'm like. And then I'll like be fighting the boss, and I'll die 10 times because I'm like, I don't want to use the rocket launcher on him. I think there's another way to beat him. I think we'll need it for something more important later. Like, and then the game's end, and I never used it, type thing. So I'm very like I'll hold on to things. So that was a long tangent. I'm sorry.
No. We're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah. And I want to get very granular with this because I don't think I ever really have with anyone else.
Awesome.
And like you're technical enough that I can probably explain like things. So let's get a little technical, right? So I had a 3,000 like constant running kilowatt inverter, or 3,000 watt rather, 3 kilowatt inverter. So it was like 3,000 with 6,000 peak. So like when you turn on a motor, it spikes, right? That's 6,000s for that. 3,000 is like the running kilowatt hours. So three kilowatt
like the
hours.
inrush current.
Yeah. So and I got a pure sine wave inverter because not inverter. Pure sine wave charge controller for my solar panels because or no. The inverter was pure sine wave. The solar panels charge controller was MPPT, which stands for max power point tracking, as opposed to pulse width modulation, which is a less efficient method for that. So I spent a good amount of money on that, is what I'm trying to get to. Like those things were not like I didn't get modified sine wave. I got pure sine wave because I have music equipment. I'm running the podcast shit. I can't have interference and bad hertz like frequency.
Did you calculate your like estimated wattage consumption before
that's a great question.
Buying the battery?
I didn't.
Okay.
I kind of went with it as I went. Like I knew what my consumption was, right? Like I have 3,000 kilowatts to play with before I have inverter problems. This is a great question. Great question, actually. So I know what I need to avoid for having problems. And I said this was not like the most nicely finished bus. In fact, I'll send you pictures if you would like to overlay them. You can.
Sure. Or
just so people can see them. Yeah. There's like tour videos on my bus as well. People can refer to.
I'm gonna plug all your shit like in the
for
links
sure
in the description. But go ahead.
But yeah, so I had an air conditioner that my cousin gave me. It was one of those standing ones that have like the tube that go out. I can't remember what you call them. There's like a specific name for them.
Yeah, it's like a split kind of mini split system.
Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah,
sort of.
So I had one of those. He gave me that. Come to find out, my inverter could not support that. It would trip my inverter whenever the AC compressor would come on because it was high.
High draw.
It was a high draw appliance, high current, high amperage device. Right. Okay. I could have gotten something that would have worked, but it would have been expensive, right? So I only could use that air conditioner when I could run an extension cord to someone's house, like if I was parked there for the day type stuff.
Yeah.
So most of the time, when I was living in the bus, no air conditioning. And I'll tell you right now, anyone that's like, oh, bus life's for me. It's like, if you want to spend 10 grand, sure, it can be for anybody.
This is a school bus,
Yeah.
to clarify,
Yeah.
right?
This was a
like
full-size school bus.
like a Ford, Transit or whatever.
Oh, I'll get into some shenanigans with that, right? So I don't have a CDL. This is always a fun thing to describe.
Interesting.
Didn't have a CDL, and it was a full-size school bus. So like, I would get questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I ruined your thing.
Whatever.
So I got questions like, how do you drive it if you don't have your CDL, right? So there's a few loopholes for anyone out there trying to do bus life. They were hydraulic brakes. They were not air brakes. I pulled out all the seats except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that, including the driver, 9 people I could potentially have in there at one time. So that is like the size, like you can get, I don't know how many people can you get in a van. Like about the same number.
Sorry, is hydraulic versus air, like, is that like a problem?
Yeah, so you need a CDL to have air brakes, right?
Okay.
And yeah, there's like benefits and things to each of them.
But this is just from a licensing perspective.
Yeah. I'm not trying to
gotcha.
get into, like, I'm sure there's advantages, but I'm not. I'm not a mechanic. I was at one time, but I'm not anymore, and I never really. I can't get into that. I don't know. I guess air is stronger. Like it can stronger, like heavier vehicles. It's the only thing that makes sense to me.
It has to be.
Yeah, more consistently. So,
took out the seats.
So took out the seats.
Yep.
Less than 10 people sitting in the bus at any time, right? So, while it's driving, so I don't need a passenger endorsement. The last one is the weight, because it was 26,000 pounds, right? So I just would say it wasn't 26,000 pounds. And I'll be honest, I was stopped by cops more than once. I can give advice on that stuff too. We can get into that, but I will say never did it ever come up that my license was not suitable to drive it.
And you just had your normal driver's license,
Yep.
right?
And one of the other things is I had to change the registration from bus to motorhome.
Huh. Did you have a permanent address at this point?
I used like my family house.
Yeah,
my mom.
gotcha.
So like my mom would be like, "You got mail," and I'm like, "Oh, I'll be there in a month." Like whenever I can go get it.
So actually, a question about that: how come when you lost your job, how come you chose a bus as opposed to like an apartment?
Great question, right? So I was actually living with my ex-girlfriend at the time when COVID hit, and I lost my job, and we kind of had like a civil like discussion about like what we were gonna do with our lives. Like the world might end right now. We don't know. I've never had a pandemic in my lifetime.
Very uncertain times.
Yeah, very uncertain times. So I was like, well, I had this bus before COVID because we used it as like a tour bus for one of my old bands, The Climbing. And I just had it parked at like my friend's place for like years, honestly, like more than 1 year, like probably like 2 or 3 years.
And he just let you?
Yeah.
Park?
Yeah.
That's
good
awesome.
friend of mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I paid him a little bit, and like I'm his IT guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, there
so,
you go.
Yeah,
you have a service.
Yeah. And he's a great friend of mine. Like,
Yeah,
we'll scratch each other's back any way we can. Like, just I'm just same here. I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like, a good friend wants the best for their friend. You know what I mean? And if you have a resource that I could use, some space, and I have like a need for that resource, and it's not bothering you, fuck it.
Here we are.
Yeah, buy me lunch, like whatever it might be.
No problem.
So I had the bus parked there, and it was not really converted at the time. Oh, wow! You know what? This is weird. And I have never actually said this in public before or whatever. So this is some new juice for Ben.
Juicy.
I was living in that bus in Philly at my job.
Oh wow.
At the job that I ended up losing. I was a manager at a gym, and one of the arrangements I had with him was I'm not looking to like spend a lot of money, and like the money that I was making at the job was like less than what I was making previously. So I'm like, well, if I don't have to pay rent, it'll offset and I'll be chilling.
True.
So I took I had my bus parked in the parking lot of the gym. And eventually we got some complaints from the people who own the lot. That like it can't be parked there anymore or some such. I don't know. It was like a problem. It was just dumb. Oh my God. Really made me upset. Then I took it to my friend's house. But before it was down in Philly when I was like living in it, it was at my friend's. So I took it back to my friend's.
So you went from your friends to Philly back?
Yeah, or wherever it was. I have a few friends. Maybe I had it somewhere. I can't really remember. It was either in Reading or in like by Hawk Mountain at my other friends.
Did you like intend to... Sorry if I'm like interrupting
No,
your
please,
flow,
please, yeah.
Did you like intend to travel outside?
I was doing my podcast in the bus, and it was
Yeah.
it was you'd never seen my bus. That breaks my heart.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you
breaks
must have.
my
I think
heart.
you sold before you joined Schneider.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and God, I wish you would have liked it,
Dude, honestly, yeah. I've thought about like van life.
Yeah,
and
it's
bus
tough.
Life,
It's tough, and I think
it would have been cool.
there's better ways to do it. And I would have did a lot of things differently, but let's get to that later if we want to get there. So I was running the podcast out of there still as well, and I was basically just sleeping in it. It's like people live out of their car. Like that's not an uncommon thing in this day and age, honestly. Like, which is horrifying. Like I thought, oh, I'm unique. It's like, no, that's everyone in San Francisco. That's not in tech.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like I would sleep there. I'd go to the gym, and then I had a vehicle as well. So like it was an alternative lifestyle, right? It was stable though, way more stable than just the bus. Because like you have a shower at the gym, like I can brush my teeth in the sink, like I have a microwave that I can use at the gym to
the
plumbing, exactly,
conveniences of modern life.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't a problem. Then, so then COVID hit, and then moved up there, blah blah blah. So we're in Kempton. Let me. I don't know where we were, but I know where I got tributaried off the main river. So let's rejoin it.
Sure.
Spending as little as I can. Right. I'm getting pallet wood for wood resources that I might need.
Wow.
Just constantly, like every morning, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, sites like that. Like, right, I'm looking like, what are people throwing out that I can use? I'm looking in the free sections, or the cheap. Like, I'm looking for specific things. Like, if I'm looking for specific things, I want that. Sure. This right here.
The desk.
This is a cubicle desk. Some dude had a barn full of fucking cubicle desks. And he was like, dude, these got to go. So I grabbed like a bunch of them. And so one was in my bus. Another one's here because like I left a bunch at my friend's house.
Yeah.
And like I think I still have more like over there, like left. Like I told him, I'm like, yeah, if you need a desk, like just use this.
Let me know. Yeah.
Like they're there for him.
I got a plug.
Yeah. But yeah, like so the dude threw out like a ton of cubicle desks, and I grabbed a bunch. That was my desk. Like this is very similar to my podcast studio in the bus.
Yeah, you mounted it in your bus.
This looks so close to it.
Wow.
Then so like just a ton of things. Like how cheaply can I do anything? Plywood started going crazy. Like everyone knows, like building material costs doubled because everyone's working on their house because of COVID or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So like,
supply chain.
Yeah, I'll bet like if there's like a construction dude watching, it's like doubled if you're lucky. Like I've seen things like quadrupled, which is crazy. So I was looking constantly. I'm like, I have the bandwidth. Like I have some free time, so I'm gonna let me look for everything as cheaply as possible. So I'd find like plywood that was getting thrown out. I'd find like an old desk like someone doesn't want. I'm like, well, I could use the top part as the wood that I'm gonna use to build this thing. Another thing that cost me some money was I put in a custom battery box because I wanted it to fit all the inverter stuff, the batteries, and stuff for the solar. So that was another $1,000, right? So $2,000 on the solar stuff. I spent $2,000 to purchase the bus, which is like very low in like today's like standards. I'm pretty sure it's pretty tough to find them for that price anymore.
Definitely. Sounds cheap.
Yeah, it was pretty cheap. It was a 19 90 Bluebird GMC for anyone curious. Yeah, I just and then I spent another $1,000 on odds and ends, whatever it might have been, right? And then I ended up selling it for like the same price. Like I kind of did the math on everything, and I kept track of the things. Like if I spent more than $50 or $100 on shit, I'd write it down. I'm like, I need to make sure I'm good at tracking things. Like it's better to track things than not to, for one. Like, and it's cool. It's easier to tell the story when you can be specific, because people are asking like, oh, how much was it to do all this shit? It's like, it's nice when you have specific numbers.
True.
And I like to tell an accurate story. So, you know, I ended up selling it.
Kind of broke even.
Yeah,
and
because the engine was failing. The engine was started failing, and I'm like, well, I did a lot of work, right? So like the cost of the things does not account for the sweat, and like manpower that you poured, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears that you poured into
true, the
assembling.
labor.
Yeah, the labor, exactly.
So actually, question: when you talked a little bit about having like free time there, would you say you had more free time in living in a bus? Because I don't know, there's like maybe less overhead than having an apartment, and it's also because you didn't have
I didn't have a
job
conventional job
too.
correct.
So
I would say your free time is infinite. It's what you have. All you have is free time. In fact, I miss the agency I had at that time. It was such a unique time in my life where I could choose my fate, and I knew like now like you're afforded different opportunities, but by the path you choose. So right now I'm building wealth, right? Like I have a really good job. I'm a professional like cybersecurity engineer, like, and I'm good at this and I'm passionate about it. Like I get passionate about the things I do. I don't like, oh, I'm just gonna be like a welder, but I hate welding. Like, and I'm sure there's most welders probably actually enjoy it. It seems like every welder I know actually really enjoys their job, but I'm sure there's some that fucking hate it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there's engineers that hate their job. You know what I mean? Honestly. So, but you know, I have a house now, and I've like a podcast studio, so it's awesome. I have air conditioning, which is pretty neat. A shower. You know what I mean? There's some really cool stuff, but it's different. Then I wasn't building wealth. I was building my connections, my network, my experiences. I was building core memories. You're
focusing on another aspect of life.
Yeah. Like I think Socrates is the one that has this quote as well that I really hold near and dear. It's like it's something to the effect of like, it's a shame for a man to go his life without knowing the potential of his youth. And so I was training a ton of jujitsu. That's basically all what my life was. I was going all over the place, just training, meeting new people, like really becoming, you know, the MMA bard. You know what I mean? Like I was doing music. I was doing live music as much as I could, busking even. I would busk.
Busking?
Yeah,
What's
so like
that?
playing guitar on the street with like a hat or your guitar case open for money.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did that. Yeah, and I could have did it more and probably more effectively, but it was COVID times. It was just weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird time.
Not many people were like out.
Yeah, and just like it wasn't the time for that, and like because COVID killed music. It was a weird thing. It really fucked up.
No, like a lot of clubs shut down. Like,
dude, I remember when I remember my bandmate at the time, Gideon. He's in my current band, which is awesome. We had a St. Patrick's Day show lined up. This is right before COVID like locked things down in 2019, 2020. I don't remember.
2020, yeah.
I think that's
March 2020.
Yes.
Everything shut down there.
Correct. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%, right? So we're supposed to have the St. Patty's Day gig. He's like, I'm hanging out we're having a beer, and he's like, yeah, so this gig might get canceled, like blah blah blah. There's like a big thing sweeping through Europe, blah blah blah, disease, whatever he was saying. I'm like not like acknowledging. I'm like, dude.
First it was like China.
What am I? Yeah, you know.
And it's like Italy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Okay,
and he knows people in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was like, yeah, like one of the things he told me was, this is gonna kill people you know. That's how bad it is. And I'm like, you're full of shit. There's no way. And I don't think anyone I know did die of COVID, but I am a person removed from people that I know have died.
One
from
person
it,
yeah.
which is interesting. It's
It
not
was
healthy
interesting.
people, like, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to make this podcast about like, oh, COVID's not real. It's like, no, it's definitely like, take it seriously. But anyway, it was just a weird time to bust, right? But there was other ways to make money and things like that. I'll tell you one little story. I was in Buffalo.
Ooh.
So
Damn.
random.
Kind of far.
My friends that I visited in Buffalo, just got married actually. So shout out to Kevin Bradley. He was my guest. Kevin Bradley was my guest at the time, and he worked for Jiu-Jitsu Times, which is like a jiu-jitsu publication. And I was like, oh, like I met him at something, and I was like, oh, you're like a dude. We're like eccentrics. Let's fucking do a podcast. One of my longest podcasts. It was funny. Very funny guy.
Awesome.
And so I was in. This is my favorite. This is the weirdest fucking chapter, dude. So
yeah.
I'll talk about this chapter because I'm sure I've told it before, but I don't know how. I'm gonna tell from my memory because it's a funny thing. So I get to Buffalo. He's asleep. It's 3 a.m. or something like that. It was a long drive to get up there, as you can imagine, from wherever I was. Maybe I was in New Jersey or PA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I need to park and sleep because I'm beat. Ugh, just been driving a fucking bus for hours.
Right.
So he, I tell him, hey, I'm around, but don't worry. Like, I'm not gonna drive to your fucking apartment with my bus and make a problem of where I'm gonna be like sleeping at 3 a.m. Like, let's sync up when you wake up. So I end up parking on the border, the Canadian border.
Okay.
Because that's like a place semis can go, which I would park near truck. Like I knew I was chilling for the night if there was truckers there. So like Walmarts and shit like that. Yes. Like me and the truckers were always like, brushing up. You know what I mean? Like, brushing your teeth. Yeah, in the morning. Like that's what we were like. That's how you knew like, oh yeah, this is your life.
At a truck stop kind of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so I'm there and like, I'm super beat and like I gotta poop. So I'm like roaming around this like rest stop and like the one bathroom I get to, like the door's locked and I'm like, fuck, bro. Dude. But I find something. Oh, but it was just such a dumb chapter. So I wake up, and then like
you weren't able to get it out. Yeah, you had to sleep like.
No, I found like another like a porta, like it wasn't even it was like some halfway between a porta potty and a bathroom. It was a weird thing. It was a temporary thing. That wasn't locked, thank God. So yeah, so I wake up and then like we do the podcast, whatever. Like, watch that episode, Kevin Bradley, Bard of All Trades podcast, if you want to watch that.
Hell yeah, I know the story behind it now.
Yeah. So I hang out there for a few days because that's what you can do. Like, oh, I'm gonna go have a podcast guest on. I'm also not paying rent anywhere, and diesel's expensive, so I need to be strategic about where I'm going next. I want to line up my trip. I like to have stops in mind. Mm-hmm. And they're soft stops, which is nice. So it's like, oh, you want to do a podcast Saturday? It's Monday. How about I get there Wednesday night? We'll wake up Thursday, get breakfast. Friday we can hang out. Saturday's a podcast.
It's the kind of freedom,
It was a super cool thing. Yeah. I think when you're doing van and bus life or anything like that, some kind of traveling lifestyle, and maybe you can even use this for your remote working kind of adventure. Like, this is good advice in my opinion. Just have a plan. Just it doesn't need to be super structured, but have a Polaris, have a North Star in your vision. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, have something always in the periphery that you're working toward, and that way you can justify yourself. If like you're getting too off the course, you can remind yourself, this is where I want to be, and this is actually counterintuitive to this goal. Let me rearrange my.
I agree.
Sails,
I mean, when you say that, I think of like when I'm at a music festival, and all of the artists have like their schedule comes out. And you have your favorite artists, obviously, so you want to like see them. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there's like they conflict with each other if they're playing.
Yeah, if you have two favorite artists, exactly.
Yeah, so I guess the good thing about set conflicts is that you can't go wrong because they're both amazing.
Yeah.
But if you're dead set on like a schedule and you're not allowing room for spontaneity, it's like you're planning your trip, and I give you an example. When I went to EDC in Las Vegas with my friends last month, we had a call before we went and we were discussing what our schedule was going to look like, because we obviously some of our artists overlap.
Yeah.
And so we're going through it, and it's one of the largest it's like the largest electronic music festival in North America. So the amount of set conflicts is like unreal. Like, it's a lot.
Yeah,
so
you really got to know, like, you got to be able to pick favorites on the fly, probably pretty good.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, a festival is more than the stages. It's like the whole experience of it.
Yeah.
So you could just be walking around. You don't have to be at a stage. Like, EDC had all these different things. They had something called EDC, where it was like country EDM.
No.
Like it was like a little bar. And
That's
this whole area called downtown EDC, which was like, there was like people were getting married there. There was merch stores and other things, like a memory lane where it showed videos of what EDC looked like on its first years.
Yeah, that's
which is like cool, so you can see how like it grew.
Yeah.
But all this to say, like, there's so many things you can do, and if you're like dead set on executing your schedule exactly as you plan, you're not really leaving room for the magic of reality to offer it something.
DEF CON's a great example of what you just said. It is impossible to do everything that you want to do at DEF CON. It's impossible to do everything that's a high profile thing at DEF CON. You choose a path. And I remember I had chosen the path I went on my most recent visit to DEF CON. I was like, well, I want to spend at least oh man, you're having a rough time right now.
Good.
It's all good. Yeah. But I was like, I need to promise myself that I'll do one challenge. I need to do one Capture the Flag CTF event. And it ended up being my entire DEF CON. And it's like, yeah. Because it's like, I love to do other things.
And you knew there was so much to do.
I could have had a blast without touching that fucking thing. Because I did, like, every year that I've gone to DEF CON now, it has been a way different thing. But this isn't a podcast. This has about DEF CON. We can get into it if you want. But just like trying to equate it to your EDC thing, it's like,
sure,
if something catches your eye and it's not what you expected, but it's intriguing you,
yes,
your artist, you go again next year. This thing might be there next year too, and you don't need to worry about it then. But right now, it's what is tickling your fancy. Go get tickled, man.
Yes, absolutely. And you know that it's such a
with impulse control. With impulse control, you can't be like we're talking about Vegas. Don't go following the strippers. Like
yeah, well, it's different because if you like something you would call an impulse is because you think it's going to get you to this point where you're like fulfilled, but it's very short lived because it's based on control. What you're talking about is something that's not based in control. It's something that's something's just happening.
Yeah, you let go so that you can catch something.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's such a great way to put that.
Yeah, man. I've experienced. You know.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example. And I keep referencing music festivals.
No,
but,
do it, please.
You know, it's such a big part of my life. So, I'm at Electric Forest last year, and I had this plan. I was at the artist Lane 8, and I was planning to walk all the way across the festival after his set to see some like dubstep artist, I forget. But on the way from the stage that I was seeing Lane 8 to the other side of the festival, I passed like other stages. So the first stage I passed, I heard like just like a DJ that was playing something interesting, and it just caught my attention. And I had a thought like, okay, but I got to keep going to see that artist that I intended to see first. But then it's like, but that's a thought, and that's, you know, it's in my attention now, but that thought isn't based on what's happening right now. Like, what's happening right now, what feels the most real is this stage that I'm at.
Yeah.
And the music is interesting me.
And like your Polaris is, we're here to have a good time. and this looks like a good time.
It does. And the crowd was like really
Yeah.
feeling, like I'm passing people and they're just vibing out. They're doing their thing. And I'm like, okay. And before I knew it, I was walking towards the stage. And so the artist's
And
name
you're
is,
alone? You're by yourself?
I'm
at
by
this one?
myself.
Yeah,
Yes.
man. What an animal this guy.
Yeah. Appreciate it. So this artist, his name is Disco Lines. And if you haven't heard of Disco Lines, please, look him up on SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube. He is like an incredible artist. And I'm just like walking towards the stage and I'm just getting captivated by this music. And it like, the fact that I let go of my original plan, because you're relinquishing control of how you see reality, and you're just letting reality happen, and you're like aligning with the flow of it. And it was my favorite set of the festival. Actually, it ended up being like the vibes were spectacular, and it was all based on something that I was completely spontaneous.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think, man, like, how does like your trip look? I'm curious. Like, all right, let's say we're going to not EDC because that one's huge, and you weren't alone. I want to know like
Sure.
an alone one, right? We're flying out. Tell me from Philly to wherever you're going and back. Where are my stops?
Yeah. Okay.
We know where the destination is, but where are we stopping at? where are we sleeping at?
Yeah. Well, I guess the furthest one I went to by myself was Bonnaroo. So that was a 12-hour drive.
Oh, you drove? Okay.
Yeah.
You stay in like an Airbnb?
I stayed at hotels.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had accumulated like
Some
travel
points.
points.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, you could say my North Star was like, of this trip, I'm going to Nashville and then I'm going to go to Bonnaroo. And that was like kind of I had planned my hotels. I had actually stopped in Roanoke, Virginia, as an in-between, because Nashville is 12 hours and Roanoke is 6. So that's a perfect split. And yeah, that was I stopped in Roanoke, just kind of bopped around there, explored a new region, and then continued on my trip to Nashville.
You like Virginia?
Yeah.
The weather's very tame. It's a nice state.
It is.
I lived there when I was in the military for a little while.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's more southern than
Mhm.
here, so it's not
Yeah.
like the winters aren't completely harsh.
Yeah.
And then
Everything's
obviously-
kind of tame. You got all
Yeah.
the seasons, but they're tame.
Yeah, exactly. That, and like North Carolina, those are cool states.
Mhm.
But so yeah, also it's beautiful, the nature.
Yes. Very green.
Where were you in Virginia? Were you like
Fort
northern?
Lee, and then I would go to Richmond.
Okay.
Richmond.
Is that like
a dirty
northern?
place? I don't know. I don't know where it is, like in the state.
Okay.
Richmond's
gotcha.
just it's like if
Really?
it's just a dive bar of a city.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
else to say it.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's just a gritty city,
Yeah, kind of like, I don't
like
know.
Chicago. I don't know if you ever been to
Dude,
Chicago.
I was just
It's
thinking about
yeah, it's
Chicago.
Just kind of worn out, like
Yeah. I was in the
like-
suburbs of Chicago, and like I'm at this bar that it's exactly as you're describing it. It's like, like a motorcycle gang pulling up
it's
and
just
getting some PBRs.
yeah, exactly. it's just about to retire. It's on its last legs at the job.
Yeah. I got you.
But yeah, man. So
Well, if you want to go back to like my Northern Star kind of
Yes.
thing.
yeah, and the other stops. Like I'm curious if you like stayed anywhere weird. You ever like have a weird Airbnb experience or anything like that? You ever go and like try to like meet up with people that you haven't met and like room? Like I know you went to the Redwoods in Colorado or whatever. What is it called?
Well, I went to. Okay, so if you're talking about people that,
because I know you
meeting up
camp
with,
there, right? Like, so you meet new people and like you have a tent. So that's got to be really
that's. I
interesting.
mean,
too.
yeah, the music festival. Like I'm meeting new people like based on like nothing, just completely spontaneity.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like meeting up with people that I know
No,
of but have
new
never
people.
met,
Ooh, that's interesting. That's
Okay.
different. That's what I would
So-
do in the bus. It's like,
so-
oh, this is a famous jujitsu guy. Can I go train with you at your gym? Do you guys
Yeah.
have showers? Can I bring
Yeah.
a school bus? Oh, cool. All right. See you in 12 hours.
Exactly. It's crazy. So, I have two large examples of this is the dualistic unity retreats.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've told me
man.
about them.
So I had, especially for the first one, like I had not met anybody that I was going to meet up with. And, so, a thought in my head was like, I'm going to be spending 9 days with people that I have never met before. And it's in Vancouver Island, Canada. So very far from here. And, oh God, we can get into all that. Like my parents weren't having it.
Yeah.
Because I hit them with the Bonnaroo first. And then like literally not too long after I hit them with the, I'm going to Canada to meet up with people that I've never, met in person. So, it's all really, like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
It's like, how much does something mean to you in order for you to set aside all of your preconceived notions of yourself and just kind of
For sure.
go for it? You learn from that,
I love that, man. You're like, how do you deal with I know, like, I was gonna say, aren't you nervous? But of course you are. Like, how do you deal with the anxiety and things like that of like going into that? Like, oh, you just got off the Uber or the taxi, and you're about to walk into this new place where like you're about to like you have a very, very loose idea of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? How do you deal with those nerves?
Great question. So obviously, yeah, you're right. They do come up, and it's just like faith in myself, really, like faith in myself as the universe is everything. That up until this point, up until any point, I've made it, regardless of anything that's happened in my life. Like I'm still here. So anxiety, I think, like it stems from thought, and thought kind of, I don't know how deep you want to get here.
Go.
Yeah.
I'm following you.
Thought stems from the paradox of reality, which is that you can perceive yourself as the observer and you perceive the observed, even though that is not the case. You are the energy of everything, the eternal moment. You don't have a beginning or an end. Their energy cannot be created or destroyed. But you can see yourself as something that can be created and destroyed as an idea. And
let me ask you something. I hate to derail you, but
No,
I'd
no.
love. You've expressed
Yeah.
things like this with me before, but I need to ask this question, man, because
Okay.
I like where does this energy come from that fuels the moment, that fuels the life force? Like, what is that? Like in your estimation, because I feel like you've done a lot more investigation on this than I have. Like there was a time when I was very like passionate about like trying to go down this rabbit hole, but she goes deep, brother.
dude,
She
it goes fucking deep.
and I feel like you've gone deeper than me. So I just love to like hear like where are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So great question. I love to think. I've always been like a deep
ponderer.
thinker. Yeah, I've always pondered. I'm
Mhm.
a big ponder guy.
Mhm.
Big ponder energy. So I guess like me coming across like the Dualistic Unity podcast was just an expression of what I was feeling in the moment and what I had been thinking in my life. I had only ever thought of, and I never really had anyone to bounce those thoughts off of until I met this podcast and this community. And everyone there is like kind of on the same page. So that podcast was able to give me the ability to put into words what I've always been thinking. So
Do you think you can teach that curiosity to people?
no,
I know. Like, so
You
what was
can't.
it in your childhood that did that? You ever ask yourself that? You ever ponder
Yeah.
that? 'Cause
So
God, dude, I try to introspect on this so much, and it's like, why am I this way?
yeah,
I
right.
can't know.
Well,
you can't know.
yeah. So
Maybe you can know, but I can't. I don't.
you're
I
getting
don't.
back to like the root of your question, which is like,
Yeah.
where does this energy come from?
Yeah.
So if we go back to the Big Bang, right? So like that, when it happened, the potential for everything that could ever possibly be started happening.
Mhm.
But you take it back a little bit further. There was a moment before the Big Bang. There had to be a moment before the Big Bang. And you could say the Big Bang is when time started. But if there was a moment before the Big Bang, then what really is time? So basically before the Big Bang.
Do you believe the theory that there are like is a multiverse and like the Big Bang is kind of like in string theory where like a new bubble forms,
So,
type of thing?
you know, everything. Yeah, I mean, everything that could possibly exist is here now.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to experience everything is to, like me and you are in different bodies. We have our different life stories.
Different
Yeah,
suits.
we could easily say that you're right there and I'm right here, and we're separated by the air between us. But we breathe the same air, so everyone breathes the same air, and it's really, you breathe it back, and then the trees like take the CO2 and turn it back into oxygen. It's all one living thing, which is life. And basically everything has the potential to experience everything. And so what draws you in to the things that you're interested in is just an expression of reality. And that's what you are. That's what I am. There's no separation between us. Like our stories have aligned like absolutely perfectly because the potential for those moments to happen always existed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, why our stories overlapped and why the mentalities that we embody are so similar enough for us to do this podcast right here and now. So the enthusiasm, everything that you've ever done in your life is all led up to this moment. And your enthusiasm for all the countless different things that you enjoy, it's just, it doesn't have to be a rhyme or a reason, but
the human experience is the context,
and
that's
the context. Yeah, man, it's great. Like the getting older is like cool, kind of.
Yeah, you ever see the Hulk with the Abomination? Edward Norton was the actor.
No.
Is that his right name? Edward Norton from Fight Club? I don't know.
I have not.
Well, in the movie, like the agent that's hired to like get the Hulk in, like he's like the strike team that's supposed to go in, but his team gets killed by the Hulk and he's the last guy. He's just like the older captain or whatever. But he's like, oh man, if I had my 20-year-old body, but like this is like, I'd be so much better. Like, you know what I mean? I could handle this way better. And then the general's like, oh, well, we have the super soldier serum from Captain America or some shit. Like, we can make that happen. So they do that. And I always think like, what would I do if I had this brain in that body? I think the decisions I made were good.
Would you
and I like the mistakes that I made made me better now. Like I learned fast. I don't know. Like it's weird, man. Like I drank a lot, like because it was the thing to do. Like you were out partying, you're trying to meet ladies.
Same, in college. I mean,
this is how you mingle as like a 20-year-old person in my area at the time. So it was the thing to do. But then like I don't know, just now, like, I'm still an athlete. I'm better at some things than I was then, and I'm worse at some. But it's the ebb and flow.
There you go. There's the logo. There you go.
But yeah, man.
Little question about, so Brad is many things. He's got
dude. Don't let me hijack this because
much.
I could totally do that.
So much. No, it's like completely fine. I just want the listener to know just how many facets of a diamond that you are, and one of those facets is a dad.
Yes.
So how about you want to talk a little bit about how did having a child like change your perspective?
I had him very young. I was in high school when I had my son, and I think I credit him for a lot of my early responsibility. You need to be, right? I knew I did not want to be a deadbeat or anything like that. It just, I guess I was raised, my family values were such that family is very important, and like your blood is, you passing the next generation. It's like pretty common way to look at that, right? Like, I remember the first time I met him.
There you go.
And I was holding him, and he opened his eyes, his little gray eyes looking back at me, and I'm like, fucking wow, dude. And I'm like, well, it's my job to make sure you have everything you need for the rest of your life. I knew at that moment, right? And that probably guided me to, like, be... Like what? Like people ask me a lot. Like, oh, dude, how do you? Like, I'll give it a couple. Like just like Ben said. So I'll give you like what's taking up my week like lately. So I'm in a band that actively performs pretty much. I'm actively training to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the advanced level. Hopefully get my brown belt soon. If I win and prove to myself, for one, that I can get the next level, I'd like to, but. Then comes my coach. I'm also working a full-time job. I also run a production company on the side that I am actively trying to grow. And I have a ton of other projects that I entertain in terms of like hacking. I'm a big open source advocate and voider of warranties, if you will.
Your band.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a performing musician. Right. And I play disc golf with Ben, and I could name a lot of things, and I'm also a sleep deprived guy. As you can imagine, I like to game a little bit, but that one's at the bottom of the priority list as much as I can, because
they move up and down.
Yeah, they do, but I think that's one where it's a vice, and I like to use entertainment as a tool, not as a distraction. That's tough.
That's hard these days.
We can get into that then. But let's get back to my son, right? So he's an old man now. No, he's not. I am. But yeah, it's super interesting, man, because he is about to be an adult.
He's 15?
Yeah. And he's on this path where it's like, man, at that age, shit changes, dude.
Absolutely.
For you. And I'm not your legal guardian anymore. Like it's a big moment when a boy turns 18. So it's cool. I'm really right now. It's summer for him, so I'm trying to spend as much time with him now, because like I can.
Can you foresee that? He's really going to become his own person. Like, maybe he already is, but if not, like,
try to put soon. Dude, this is a really interesting thing. I had this conversation with another father recently where I was like, how do you know when to push, when to guide, and when to let them go? And I worry that in 10 years I'm going to look back and go, I didn't do enough of one or the other. So I'm trying to be as delicate with that as I can, because if you're pushed hard, you become a hard worker probably. Like you get good work ethic, you end up in a path to success conventionally. But if you let them kind of be their own person, right, they can get addicted to drugs and shit, and like look for entertainment as the only facet of life that means anything. And it's like building things is important too. So like this year, we signed up for a Spartan race. So we're doing a little bit of training for that.
He's going too.
Yeah, he's his first one, right? So, so we're training, right? Like I'm awesome. Explaining to him like the meaning of taking care of this flesh puppet that we get to pilot for this short time. It's a good time.
It's fun.
And
I like being.
And like we went to the club recently, and we get shirtless. We're in good shape, and we're not self-conscious because of that. We're sweating. Our bodies work pretty good. You know what I mean? And
they're pretty functional.
And it can allow us to enjoy the moment better. Like it offers us more opportunities when you have a body that's capable, right?
100%.
As opposed to people who, you know, are disabled or out of shape. You know,
like the things I like to. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
just
I'll
little
come back.
Side note, I
Yeah.
guess. The things I like to do in life, like, kind of require you to be in shape. I don't know, like the martial arts, hiking, disc golf, like
nature likes when you're in shape too. And I think nature is very important. And we could go into it on this podcast, but I feel like just people should just know that, man. Like, just get out in nature, man. The world's ending.
You're watching the video. We're both barefoot.
Yeah, dude.
Listener. I love being barefoot. I recently I recently, like, became aware of how socks and shoes have been kind of, like, destroying our foot health.
Yeah.
And, like, reshaping our feet to, like, go inwards where the toes are. And I was looking at a picture of someone's foot from, like, a few thousand years ago or whatever, and their toes were all splayed out.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like, the caption was like, "This is what human feet used to look like before we wore shoes." And so it's like it looked like a lot more stable than what we have currently. So
100%, probably easier to heel hook.
Probably.
But yeah, so
you're training your son to be a Spartan race.
Yeah, and I'm teaching. Like, one of the things we did recently, I went to Goodwill. This is a fun hobby for anyone out there that, like, has a proclivity to shopping but doesn't want to spend a lot of money. Going to Goodwill is fun. I like to shop for deals. I don't know. I'm an American consumer. Is probably why. Me and millions of other people. You know, I don't, like, go shopping every weekend, but when I'm out, I like to entertain my idea of cost analysis and things like this. It's a skill almost. When you go to Goodwill, like, I can really analyze things and go, this hat, $5. That's worth $5. I'll take it. You know what I mean? Or if it's like, whoa, this thing over here, this HDMI cable that's still in its bag is the same cost as it would cost at Best Buy. Why? Someone's bad at equating, like, value here. And it's funny. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Recently picked up 2 routers.
Nice.
I'll show you my network closet then.
Nice. Yeah.
This guy. Oh, dude. I wish I could turn the camera on. You see this wireless access point?
Oh, yeah. I was looking at the picture
That's
frame.
That's the thing where I hacked the JTAG on it. Sorry.
Okay.
People can't see. DM me, dude, if you want to know that. Anyway, what were we talking about? Yeah, so me and Gavin put OpenWRT on a couple of routers. So I taught him how to hack proprietary out and put FOSS in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like jailbreaking, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, so just the value of that. I explained to him why we would want to do this, right? It was funny. I took his router, and I was like, all right, let's go on MITRE and look if this make and model has any vulnerabilities. Looks like it does. Cybersecurity problems. Let's look at the version of OpenWRT it can run. Pretty current version. Let's look at the problems with that. It's actively supported by an open source community. It's like, this is a great reason why you might want to go with FOSS. So now we got intelligence out of the way. Let's work on strength and dexterity. Like, we're gonna build our character here. And I love to equate.
That's funny.
I love to equate this life like to
like
an
a
old
video
RPG
game,
like I used to play. Right. So in the old RPGs, you have, like, strength, wisdom, intelligence, dexterity.
The trees.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So
I think it's very real. It's like it's based on reality, but as you level up, you don't get more points. They reallocate. I think you get more, but they reallocate. And you might lose some.
Well, you get, like, knowledge points.
Yeah, right. So you get in that age probably takes down strength and, like, resilience.
Yeah,
and
like
durability.
put 2 towards intelligence.
Right? But if you're not actively training, every level up is just a reallocation where you might end up losing net points. Where if you're active and you're chasing experiences that bring you fulfillment, probably end up net at the end of the year every year gaining points.
You're building the tree.
EXP points, yeah.
And I would say it's there's, like, the mental development and the physical development as well. So, you know, like you can go to the gym and people I heard of people that would like lift kind of just to like not be depressed or something, and it does help.
Yeah,
Like
that's your
exercise.
therapy. I think I know a lot of
Yeah.
people like that, and I think
Yeah.
it's a great tool.
100%.
Yeah.
We can get in a little like martial arts actually a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. But like,
Yeah,
and
but
before we get
yeah,
into it,
yeah.
man, like, let's just like replace the gym with video games. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone down a spell of like game. Like, I'll tell you my story of like when I first got COVID.
Okay.
I was playing League of Legends.
Oh
right,
my God.
every day while I was sick, and by the third day, I'm like, God, this is not it. I don't want to play video games anymore. I want to live. That's why like I'm worried about like where we're going with VR and AR and AI and all this other shit. But that's a whole other convo.
Holy shit!
Let's re-rail to your track now. I just wanted to say that, right? Like that the gaming can defeat you. Where the gym shit, you're actually hitting some endorphins and shit that like only get hit by that, and it's. Unfortunately, this is a couple million-year-old machine that's got primal things still left in there.
Yeah, and we're not in the primal environment.
Yeah, we're not in the primal environment,
yeah.
so you better satiate those things like
Dude,
as much as you can.
Yeah.
Anyway, like you just have to do it. It's like maintenance on the car. You don't want to have to change the oil. You got to do it, dude. If you want the thing to run, you're gonna need to fucking go touch grass, bro.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, getting into like the physicality.
Yep.
And so I've kind of one perspective that I picked up on recently is I would say that my body is closer to reality than my mind, in the sense that when I'm doing something physical, I'm not really thinking, or I'm not paying as much attention to my thoughts as I am paying attention to what's happening in my body.
Yeah.
I think yoga, something that I practice a lot, and martial arts is two great examples.
Like the hot yoga?
Yeah, hot yoga. I mean, especially in
that's
like
what you
heated,
do more of, or just like conventional.
The studio I go to is heated, so pretty much every class.
That's awesome.
It's
a different animal.
It is.
It's
because
nice. It helps
sweating.
you get more flexible quicker, and you really get to like. Oh, dude, I love
something
yoga.
about being
I haven't done
in the
yoga
heat.
in a while, but it is amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and like also like sauna as well. You're taken out of your mind almost, and you're like, holy shit, like it's really hot.
Yeah.
Or in Wing Chun, like when someone is like chain punching you, like you're not thinking about your rent or like if that girl's gonna judge you or whatever. Like you're thinking like I'm trying to not get hit with these punches
or get choked in jiu-jitsu. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
I'm not about to get knocked out right now, bro.
Exactly.
Let's get out of here.
But how much closer are you to the present moment in those moments than like when you're scrolling on your phone?
Let me ask you this: you ever go from work and you are dreading going anywhere after work but your bed, and you're like, I gotta go, fucking train. Gotta go train, cause someone told me a while ago, like you're gonna feel way better after you go, like, and once you're there, you're gonna like be happy you went, and it's so true. And you have to constantly fucking remind yourself that, because I still to this day I'm like, oh, I'm dreading
it's a battle,
going. And once
honestly.
you're there, you're like, God, I'm so fucking glad I came. If I wouldn't have came, my day would have stayed awful.
Yeah. Well, because I have those thoughts where if I like don't get a lot of sleep for say, and like I want to do something physical, then I'm like,
I keep feeling
but I don't want to do it tired. Like I
Yeah.
read on this article that like you gotta have proper sleep if you want to work out, but it's like you don't really. If you show up, like you're gonna be in that moment, and it's like how much are you holding on to the past, really? Of like, oh my God, I didn't get that much sleep. Like, and you were in basic training, so. You probably
sleep deprivation. It's one of the reasons why like I am not an early bird and shit. Like I probably internalized a lot of the hate for some of that. I loved boot camp, and I have a lot of respect for the military. I'm not trying to shit on it there, but fuck waking up early, dude. Not my bag, baby.
I don't really do that either. I've only had a couple times in college where I'm like, I got up at like 5 and I went to the gym and went on a run.
Yeah,
I don't know what was in me that day, but
if things call to you, it's cool to listen.
That is true.
Like the other day, even for me, it was one of the days. Like I think I was mentally preparing myself or something. Like to go, like, because I had to go pretty far traveling for work, and I'm like, man, this sucks. But I woke up super early. I was kind of tossing and turning, but when I woke up, like, I felt rested. I'm like, I better just get up now and get a head start on the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then, once you're starting to go through the motions, like, you're there. And like I was saying earlier, you could hold on to this idea of, wow, but I didn't get so much sleep, but you're kind of like spoiling the moment of like what's already happening. But yeah, I think
and you won't embrace uncertainty that way. You'll be stuck in your shit.
Yes.
Like, maybe if I go, something great will happen. And if you do it enough, that's always what's going to happen. It's going to suck the whole drive there. Nothing I listen to is going to get me hype enough.
Right.
Maybe though. Maybe I'll listen to a song I haven't heard in 10 years and go, oh shit, this is a cool song, and get jazzed by the time I get there. But usually, like, I'll even be doing jujitsu instruction. I'm sure there's tons of people that can probably relate to any martial arts. Like, we're here for the class portion. It's like, all right, all right, here's how you do the move. Like, now it's your turn to drill, and it's just like, bro, what the fuck? I don't even know what he was doing. Like, I completely blanked. What was it? It was something with this. Okay, let's do this, blah, blah, blah. And, like, once you learn a few, you're starting to, like, remember, like, oh, yeah, I know how to do jujitsu. I forgot. And then once you start rolling, after the first roll, the first, like, live training segment, it's like, I'm fucking here. I'm here. I'm up.
Yeah, you're in the groove.
Yep, I'm 100% ready for everything now. Like, and the rest of the training session's amazing because it's like I'm here to push myself, and I'm pushing myself. And so I fucking love jiu-jitsu, dude.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of embracing the uncertainty in jiu-jitsu or in martial arts. Like, before you go to spar someone, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna
you
hit
get hit.
in the nose. You're gonna have a black eye.
You can get fucked up.
I have a show this weekend. Hopefully no one chokes me through my fucking Adam's apple so that I'm sounded like this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, fucks my finger up so I can't play guitar. I've had all those things happen.
But, yeah, and those thoughts are always there. But it's like you kind of have to continue on despite.
Yeah, it's like, if I feel like I can, I should do it, I'm definitely going to do it. Like I'm saying specifically for, like, those situations, right? Like, I have a show the next day. Where am I going to train? All right, I'm going to train with people I trust a lot, that I've been rolling with for forever. I'm going to say, hey, I have a show tomorrow. I'm not trying to go crazy, and I still want to get a good session. Totally. If you prepare yourself right, you're setting yourself up for success. You'll be fine. If you're like, oh, shit, some new dude I just met, like, invited me to a crazy training session, and I know they're super competitive over there, I'm going to get fucked up and, like, have a fucking, my face scratched up or or worse for my show and be like, what's up, guys? Whatever.
Yeah. Have it affect your voice.
Yeah. Or some other facet of me,
And but, like, those thoughts, would you say they keep you from doing events, or?
No, it's like it's like my Polaris is the show, right? In this specific instance, right? I'd like to wander, and I want to get a workout in today because I need to train. Could do jiu-jitsu. I could go play disc golf. Both of them bring me fulfillment.
Right. Yeah.
And as long as the show's the priority, the one that's less making me risk less doing the Polaris thing, maybe go this way. We're going to enjoy the disc golf. I'm not going to not do stuff. There's always there's alternatives.
And you're not going to linger on the thing that you missed out on.
No.
When you're
I'll
doing
train with you guys after my show. Yeah. I'll see you next week. I have a show this weekend. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because there's always so many options. It can be overwhelming.
And sometimes it's like a unique opportunity. Like, oh no, dude, this guy's in town for just this moment. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I have to go now. I'll just be extra careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel that. Honestly, so yesterday I went to a rave behind a skate park.
Dude, where are you finding these, bro?
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
And I was like kind of like telling myself like
because you were just under a bridge like a couple weeks
ago. I was under a bridge, and then I was in a warehouse last week. And
dude, that's so hard. How do you find these?
Dude, I got like a text and it was like, come to FDR skate park. We're throwing a
Are they
rave
free?
Behind it. It was a free show.
No way. They're just popping off like that?
Yeah,
That sounds so cool. That sounds so like 90s The Matrix vibe.
dude, it felt like very like, I don't know, in the like rebellious or like,
Yeah,
you know,
very
like,
underground.
yeah,
Mhm.
it was.
I love it.
And it was behind a skate park too, and you know, like the skateboarder mentality is like,
And there was probably
you know,
skaters there.
there
and they were probably
were.
fucking vibing with the whole thing,
Dude, they
Because
were.
everyone, so I'm not a skater, but I did parkour a lot, and you
Mhm.
get to see weird underbellies of shit when you're that guy. Like I'm the guy that climbs shit. I do buildering. You know what I mean?
Yeah, interesting.
And you just like kind of get to see, like, you get to mix in with some people and see like, oh shit, we're doing like a nighttime sesh, so we're gonna climb this building that like has security during 8 to 5 hours, but now it's kind of like we just hop this fence and now we can climb this cool thing that looks cool to check out. Like, I've done that so many times.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's not like breaking and entering. I mean, I guess maybe it is in some context, but it's like we're not going in to vandalize. It's like, no, dude, I want to see if I can get this jump. I want to see if I can get off that bar and swing in here, and we'll do flips on this thing and make a cool video.
That's so
You
cool.
know, like it was like a young internet time too, when I was like my parkour day. Like I love that early 2000s YouTube. That was good.
Yeah.
It was very wholesome. It wasn't what it is today.
The first parkour video I ever saw was on YouTube. And
Yeah.
it was in like 2009, and it
Yeah.
like blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the guy like slide down a pipe on the side of the building, like
100%. Just creative ways to like get through a parking garage and stuff. It's like, oh god, this is the coolest shit ever. But yeah, man, like just saying, like I feel like I've walked into some, not like house parties, but like some events going on where it's like, oh shit, like there's this outdoor thing happening over here, and now we can we're going to be loosely affiliated with it because we're out over here already. You know what I mean? Like this is what we normally do on a Saturday anyway. The fact that there's music over here now or whatever.
oh yeah,
It's like it's no consequence to us,
no, and like it was behind like the huge like half pipe or something.
That's
so
so cool.
it wasn't
dude.
like bothering anybody.
How'd they power the show?
A generator.
Nice.
Yeah, they brought like they brought like a generator and pizza, and they put like the pizza on top of the
that's
generator.
So cool.
But they were able to get like 2 PA monitors and a subwoofer, and like obviously like the mixer going.
Mhm.
But it felt like I always think of like it felt very outcasty, like the outcasts of society.
It's so
just
cool, dude.
people that like
and you know what sucks, bro? Like, I don't. Maybe there's people in your audience that don't get this. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how do we even talk about this in terms that they would understand? Because some people are just so suburban and cul-de-sac, and just they'll never see anything like this in their whole life.
Yeah,
And
right.
this is just something like you'd stumble into on a regular.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, dude.
So how do you get from being like a suburban
normie
Josh?
yeah, you know what I
to
mean?
being like a
and nothing against those people, but it's like
no.
there's so much more to life than the cul-de-sac, dude. It's like that is such diet life.
And I think
That's NPC
diet
shit,
life.
bro. That shit's NPC as fuck, dude. Like,
we have Mom, can we get life? We have
Yeah.
life at home. Life at home.
yo, you need to make that into a meme, dude. What's that? What's that Jordan reviews it shit?
Oh my God, Doo-doo Dynamics.
Oh shit, God! So we're getting too obscure with our references now.
Oh no.
Oh, let's come back. Let's come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay, how do you?
What
Okay,
was
yeah.
like the you started a river here, and we've definitely gone on a huge tributary. Let's
We
come
have,
back.
man.
Let's
Holy
come back
shit.
to the main thing because it was a good. You had depth with it.
What was it?
Oh, we were talking about. I don't know.
Well, let me. I actually was
Yeah.
about to bring it back, and so how do you get from the NPC, like quote unquote,
Yeah,
which is
okay.
really
Yeah,
just
this is good. Yeah.
life, like into a life where you're following your
What brings you
enthusiasm,
fulfillment?
like people say, like you're following your heart,
or your passion.
yeah, and it
how do you
really,
find those things, right?
yeah, it really
it's hard. It's not
what do you think?
that hard though. You
Mhm.
need to just come out of your comfort zone. That's what's hard.
exactly.
I think the other side of that in everything is amazing. You get like I think a lot of problems that people have, which is really an old school like 80, like to my knowledge, it's the 80s. It's probably a lot older than that, but like in the 80s, just people like very proud and like very egotistical and like, oh no, I know this way and this is the way. But like the internet kind of fucked a lot of that mentality up. Like it still exists out there, but it's like, man, I can shit on your whole thing that you have going on really easily by just showing you that you're wrong. Like, and you're stunting your growth as well as your constituents' growth, dude. Like, you should be very open and modest and humble, or there are consequences.
Yeah, I would even go as far to say there is no should. You can be whatever you want, and there's lessons that go with that. And reality always reflects your mindset. So if you are keeping yourself in the story of who you are, that tends to be like your limit. And like what you were saying, to start to go from the box that you've created for yourself. I love this quote.
Maybe even like they didn't create it for themselves. They were put in the box, right? Like you were born into the cul-de-sac. You know what I mean?
Well,
but you were saying your quote. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. This quote that I really like is the gates of hell are locked from the inside. In that there's always a way. Like there's every fear that you have is created by you.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I resonate with you.
You recognize that it's, and like we said it towards the beginning, the only thing that's holding you back is yourself. So it's like, it's really the letting go of the story of who you are and pursuing whatever brings you joy or fulfillment in that moment. Explore that.
Do you think like Jocko says this shit, right? Like the discipline is freedom thing. What's your opinion on that? Like, do you think that being disciplined gives you more freedom to do things? Or like, because a lot of, there are people out there that are just kind of doing the observer type shit where they're just kind of going with the flow all the time. But and you see their lives and they're not remarkable, but they probably have some insane experiences, as weird as that sounds, because they're just letting the current carry them, so they end up in these like a heroin den or something, or because I'm just like I don't know why drugs is like the thing I'm going back to. It could be anything. But like I'm just saying, like that's like I'm sure you experienced some crazy shit along the way, either way.
I think I see discipline as a spectrum, and like the way, like the furthest you can take it is like, I'm thinking of like a biohacker or something that wants to live until they're like
become
200.
A cyborg. Yeah.
Like they will live that long for sure, but like they're having like the most strict diet, most strict exercise routine you could possibly. They're optimizing for the longest life, but like you're missing out on like you're probably not getting Indian food.
Never getting Indian food. You're never gonna snowboard, because it's a huge risk and can do some serious damage to your body. Exactly. You're not going to do a lot of high-octane shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, the whole here for a good time, not for a long time.
Yeah.
I
think that riding the middle is pretty cool. Where would you say you're on that spectrum?
I would say I'm just like, I kind of fluctuate.
Yeah. I think
day,
it depends on my activity, right? Because like right now, I'm in jiu-jitsu for a long time, but when I'm competing, it's certainly for a good short time, because I'm grinding my body into the fucking dust.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a fun reminder where it's like, I am not in my 20s anymore. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I cannot recover like that anymore. But I can train. This is where like that, coming back to that Hulk guy with the fucking like, oh, if only I had the body. Like,
yes.
I would maybe train harder in certain things. But I was doing, I knew of this stuff for a while, and that's why I can have these revelations. You know what I mean? Can't have a revelation too much in the moment of an epiphany. Like, you know what I mean? If you had the epiphany a while ago, and then you're observing it, you really, like, that's when you can tell a tale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed your thing, though.
What were we talking about? Discipline? Yeah.
Yeah, but even before that.
Well,
like what you were saying.
My mind went to
we were talking
discipline.
about Gavin. That's the other thing too. My kid.
Yeah.
I can go more, and we can come back to that more.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, there's so much. There's so much.
But with discipline, so I think it's fine to like get into that routine of like, let's say you want to do push-ups till failure every day.
Yeah,
you can certainly do that. Like you'll get a nice.
It's hurting my wrist just saying that, dude.
Right? Yeah, like
every day. Ugh.
That would be a lot. So like you can do that. You would get like a stronger chest and arms and back. I'm not sure what push-ups exactly work, but
chest and tries.
Yeah, so that'll be great. But if you never like change it, if you don't open yourself up to, or like, let's say one day you're really not feeling it. You're like, fuck, I don't want to do the push-ups till failure. And let's say you don't. If you don't, you have the option to judge yourself for not doing so. If you judge yourself, I mean, you're kind of like, I guess you settle on seeing that day as one, only the way that you failed it.
Yeah.
But if you were
well said, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. And if you were unfamiliar, if you just remained in uncertainty, like by me not doing the push-ups, if I don't know what that means, like it could lead, it could lead to a recovery day, and your muscles need recovery. So, and sometimes your gains come from when you rest, when you're resting. So like if you're not doing the push-ups, that might have been the best thing for you. But if you say, fuck, like I'm such a weakling for not doing it. That stress, I mean, that's going to come with some tension on your body, and tension
in
is
your mind.
Yeah, tension on your body and mind.
And it can weigh heavy.
Exactly. And there you go again. You're carrying that weight of life with you that people, get depressed because they're seeing themselves in a way that they have to see themselves like that.
Yeah.
But you just recognize it's an option. Like you don't have to perceive yourself in any way. You're just this moment. I don't know what this moment is, but it's you're here and you're experiencing it. That's it. That's existence. It's really simple. We like to overcomplicate things. We like to put all these concepts and layers of things that we've knowledge that we've accumulated on the present moment, and it's taken us very far from reality. That's manifested in so many ways, like all the big corporations and ways of control that have been expressed,
Yeah, I think that kind of resonates with me a lot, right? Just talking about the discipline with these external factors. I don't like the big corporate. I don't like big tech. I don't like big anything. And I think the power is in the hands of the people. But it takes, I don't want to equate this to some cringy blue pill, red pill shit, but you need to choose to look outside of the fucking simulation that we're in. Not simulation, but we're
the
in
path of control that we went down.
The society, the civilization, the higher powers want the masses to conform to a certain, set of things. You've been to Vegas. It's so transparent how well controlled the people are in Vegas, the travelers. You can't cross the street in Vegas. You go over a land bridge, and there's fences to keep you from going and wandering to the street. I observe a lot of these things. I'm like, man, I could easily go over this fence, cross the street, and it'll save me some time rather than going through these zigzags.
Yeah.
And these zigzags have a lot of ads for cool shit that I can do at the place I'm headed. It's so well done. All the buffets for all the competing hotels close at the same time. Why? They don't want to undercut each other. Let's all cooperate in this.
Wow.
There's plenty to go around with these, these fat Americans or whatever, these consumers. Like there's enough, and you start to notice these patterns if you look for them.
Casinos as well.
Yeah.
No windows. No clocks.
Yep.
Right? You want to keep them in.
Yep.
They don't want to. You don't want them to know what
Great
time
temperature, right?
Yeah,
it's hot outside. Fuck that, dude. I'm chilling right here. Oh, complimentary drinks if you're fucking doing this.
Don't mind if I do.
It's so easy, right? So easy to just chill and do that. But if you take a step, just take one step back to view shit, man, you'll see so much. See so much stuff, man. and that's where I'm at right now. Like I'm constantly thinking, like, how can I break off the grid for stuff? Because it's just, I just like the idea of being like this free agent, like the bus life thing. Like I was my own thing. Like the bills that I had were very, like, optionally chosen. I didn't feel locked into anything.
Yeah, like a Pico bill.
Yeah, I didn't have a Pico bill. I had to get some diesel when I wanted to travel, when I wanted to move, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a phone bill. I want to have a cell phone. It'd probably be a good idea if I have a data plan if I'm running a podcast.
Yeah, internet.
So I'll keep some of that. And that's it. I didn't have a Disney Plus or some other shit like that. I don't need any of that. It's like we're here. Like, and then there's another thing. Like I'm not saying like, oh, don't watch movies and shit like that. Like you should support
the creatives, like the directors and the actors.
Absolutely. But like
the platforms,
the things that mean the most to you is where your money should go. So like if you like having a mom and pop shop in your local town, like don't not give them money when you can. Like if you're gonna go like all right, Wawa has drinks for $1 and I'm gonna go here and get some food. Their drinks are $1.75. Get the fucking drink there, dude. You're saving 75 cents. Like, and I'm not shitting on Wawa either.
Like if you're saying if like,
if it costs a little extra to support the thing that matters to you a lot, fucking do it, dude. It's not hurting you,
dude. I mean, yeah, like we can fucking organic food.
Yeah, man, 100%.
That means a
like
lot
if you don't pay for it, it'll stop being an item that's available. That's what happens. Yeah. Supply and demand.
You vote with your dollar.
You vote with your dollar way more, like bigger. Yes. It's a way bigger voice than your mouth.
Oh, 100%.
And you vote with your actions. You like I love telling people like, don't talk about it, be about it. You know what I mean? Like someone's like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna like I especially like jujitsu. Like, oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna be competing. I'm like, just dude, like there's a comp next week, and your dudes in your gym are doing it next week. Don't talk about it, be about it. Not you're gonna do it then. Just fucking sign up. Go lose. So you're fueled to actually do the one that you want to do, and you'll win that one.
Just jump in.
It'll prepare you better. Yeah. You need that fuel. You know what I mean? Like I just took a big loss, my first tournament in over a year, and I panic tapped. Like just because
did you go through any doubt before you signed up for it, or
always because it was it's a submission only, no age group. Because I'm like, oh, is there like a masters division? Can I get in with the 30s? It's like no, it's all young studs in the advanced division. So it wasn't broken up into purple, brown, black. It's like all the advances together, all age groups together. I'm definitely not the youngest, hottest prospect that's getting into this bracket. Mm-hmm. And my weight class is one of the most competitive pound for pound weight class. Like I'm 170. It's always a stacked bracket. And there was people interested in the tournament that I did that I commentated for. So I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't want to fight these guys. They're good as shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Give me some 30-year-old engineers, dude. I want to compete against other me's. But then I realized there's no other me because I'm a vagabond in jiu-jitsu, man. Especially right now, I train all over the place. People invite me to train, I come. I love and that's something I got from the bus. Yeah, something I got from the bus, because that's what I was doing. I became the guy where like if you invite me, I'll come. You know, and I'm good. I'm like, I've never heard any rumors come back bad about me in jiu-jitsu, which is a pretty cool thing. Because I'm sure shit like that comes back to people where it's like, nah, dude, people say like you're a douche when you roll. Like I'm never that guy. I always get re-invited anywhere I go. Always. Like I've never like been like slanty-eyed from somebody because they're like, yo, that guy fucking smacked one of the girls here or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever it might have been. Like I treat everyone great. I'm very respectful. Like, you know, and I'm smart, and my jiu-jitsu is good enough where like even if you're an like super advanced dude, I can maybe give you something in your role that you're not going to see elsewhere, and it's a cool new look. I'm probably doing shit that a lot of people that you train against don't. You know, so and I like to do that. So one of the reasons like I started doing MMA recently, just because like I'm not an MMA fighter. My striking sucks. Like I'm not looking to get in the cage anytime soon, but I love MMA. I'm trying to get more involved with it. I respect those guys. And if I want to talk the conversation of MMA better with them, the people I respect, I better get in the ring and fucking learn what it is to be a fighter.
Right.
Because like a grappler is not the same as an MMA fighter or a boxer. We're all different things. I'm not a kung fu guy. You know what I mean?
You're
I can't. We can have some conversations. We can't have them all.
No.
Right.
Right.
So, man, I get fucked up in MMA. But when it comes to the grappling part, like I might submit you. Your striking better be really good, and your posture better be really good. Because if I sweep you and I get on top, doesn't matter whose striking's better. I'm going to be the one doing the striking. You know what I mean? Don't let me on top. I'm getting trashed. Yeah, exactly. And then if I'm on bottom and I invert, you're getting heel hooked. You know what I mean? Like, and I better finish it quick because I'm probably going to get hit a couple times while I try to. But yeah, it's I fucking love it, dude. It's just, it's not good for your brain. It's not like I do MMA all the time, but man, like, you got this young vessel. I don't know when I'm going to be too old. Like, you ever ask yourself that? Like when is it gonna be way too late? Like maybe like if Mark Zuckerberg wanted to fight me in an MMA cage, I'd totally fucking do it, right? let me know, Mark.
It's all anyway, always about Mark Zuckerberg. If you're watching, you've been challenged.
Yeah, for real. I don't care who you train with. I don't care what your camp is. Like, you pick the rule set. Anyway, yeah, dude. You don't know unless you're doing it, you know?
Yes.
And
just jump in.
Yeah, and you don't know how long you're gonna last if you just do. Like, you gotta just do it. And like I asked her, like I don't know when's your midlife crisis. Like I feel like, you know what I mean. Like I don't like when do I realize like fuck, dude, I'm too old to do shit anymore? Because I don't feel that way. I'm in my early 30s. Yeah. I hope it's not my mid 30s because I think there's a monster in here. Right? There's a dragon. There's a beast. There's an ape in here.
Yes.
And he's still kicking around. I know he is.
Yeah.
I call on him a lot.
And it's like, will that ever leave?
Yeah. You know? There's probably been times where he hasn't answered, or I'm sleep deprived or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want I like the 90% chance that you're going to answer when I call you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm used to that.
I've thought about that.
I'm worried when it gets to like 40%. When's that happen?
I have
less than 50. You know,
when is my body gonna? You know, like,
and your mind, right? Like your cognition will start to affect the body too.
For me, I think
you
it's
probably
just
process things slower as you age. You know,
I think it's just doing different things. Keep wanting to learn new things, like, because anytime you try something new, like you're. That's when you're paying the most attention, and like your brain's absorbing all of the present moment because you don't know.
I wonder if it's just important that you keep that lust for new experience and knowledge, and maybe you learn it at this age because it's not common. It's not common for us to have this thing, and it's just as not common for older people to be pursuing new stuff like vigorously. Yeah. But I'll bet you it's like it's like what I mentioned earlier, right? Like they had the epiphany young and they know like, oh, I need to just keep chasing this. It's all good.
We could just leave him. He was kind of.
I'll take him over here.
Okay.
He's my friend.
He was like.
No, it's all good. It's all good, dude. Ben's taking up a lot of real estate over there, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Oh shit. But yeah, man. Like what was I saying earlier? Right? Like
the physical and the
like
mental.
well, just knowing then, so that I can have the revelations now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just I constantly think about that though. And this is something I think about too. It's like I can play video games at 90. So, man, I really should probably I'm probably not gonna.
It's a mental thing.
Like,
so.
what am I gonna do with them now that's like productive? And of course, I'm looking at it the capitalist way. Like, right? Like, I'd love if everything was, free and I didn't have to deal with money. But it's not the way. It's not the way things are.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's not the way that things are. So
mm-hmm.
I constantly look at things that way, right? Am I going to make money playing video games now? Am I going to like be some crazy competitive dude? Maybe I could stream on Twitch and be funny. I think I could do that. But it's like, am I really going to set that up right now for myself? No. Let's see where my music goes. That brings me more fulfillment anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't even have the fucking distraction. Because that's why I leave my game consoles unhooked a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole like, I totally resonate with like the video game thing. Like that's one way to go. I've thought about streaming on Twitch too because I see people who are very successful.
In the past. Yeah, I've done it and I've had like mild success doing it. Mm-hmm. Like we had a huge Smash thing going, the Hero and the Bard project. And it was super fun in the moment, but it's like once the fire turns to embers and like that's a dormant thing, but am I really going to sit here and fan those flames and rebuild all that stuff? Like, no, I'm just here to play a couple games every now and then. Like, right now. I have all these other things, and I better pursue them because no one wants to see a 60-year-old dude on stage. He's not going to be doing the cool stuff that I can do right now. I'd better do it now while my voice is not sounding like RFK. You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's something about your mindset of like when you're 60 that you somehow your life is like less fulfilled because you can't do those physical things.
No,
but you don't know where you're going to be.
Yeah,
there
that's
could
what I'm
be
saying.
Things
like,
that replace
exactly
what you love now that you're doing at 60.
I agree.
You know?
And what I'm saying is the video game, like enjoying a good RPG or something like that can happen at 60. So just do it then. I don't like I played like one Assassin's Creed and I loved it. I want to beat every single one of them. I'll wait for the Super Deluxe Ultra Remaster in 2090. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll play it then. Right. I'm not worried about it right now. I want to go on my own like Assassin's Creed quest with Ben in the Caribbean. You know what I mean? Like, let's go like on a Assassin's Creed rave adventure. You know what I mean?
Assassin's Creed rave, maybe with some parkour.
Yeah. It might even make me appreciate the game more if I was like, I remember like Ezio I once went on.
I remember my quest once.
You know what I mean? So I think that's so important, man. And I wish more people thought like that, and plenty do. Like that 100%. You're constantly going on adventures, and it's like that shit brings you fulfillment you didn't even know like you had a slot for in your inventory. You know what I mean? It's like shit, dude, I didn't realize I liked this thing.
I think it's so cool that like 5 years ago, like I'm doing things now that I didn't know that I would love. Mm-hmm. So it's the same applies. 5 years from now, you're gonna find things that you didn't even know existed that you like.
Yeah, like
really
the 3D
enjoy.
Printing journey, right? Like I love making little doodads. Why is this such a fun thing? Like it's like, and then I'm like thinking back, like God, like I wish I'd started this earlier, but the fact that I started it now is second best time. Is the second best time. Yes. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's I don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
For me, it was martial arts actually. That's something that I always. And ultimate frisbee, I would say, because there was something that always drew me into those things, but it wasn't like I never took it seriously enough until like that moment in my life where it was just time. It was time to get into those things, and it was time to get into frisbee when I went to college, and I like absolutely loved it. Like I loved like training to be like really good at throwing the disc and running around the field, having field vision, being the position of deep and telling my teammates where to go.
Yeah, the cohesion of building a team.
Dude,
knowing,
something about like
I
getting
love it.
excellent
Mm-hmm. Oh,
at
dude.
something is like so fulfilling.
Why
yourself.
why is it? You ever hear this quote like it's not about the peak of the mountain, it's the journey, right? It's like, what is it about that? What is it about high tier things, right? Things that require you to have some requisites
right.
that make those a sweeter fruit than that which, like, let me give you an example, right? Why does it taste better to shoot an arrow off of a horseback and hit the bullseye than it does to put on the Wii headset or like Nintendo Wii thing and press the button and an arrow hits the bullseye in that?
Yeah.
Why is the horseback one where your body does it and hits the bullseye on this animal that you had to build synergy with, the confidence to have a weapon on a live animal that you only mostly trust, you know?
I think there's like, I mean, because in a video, I mean, it's a simulator. So in real life, you have the energy of the horse. Yeah. And the energy of, I don't know, like the field you're in or something. Like it's all just, it's a moment where you're absorbing. Yeah. That's interesting because in like, I think of like a VR experience.
Yeah.
If you're doing archery, like it's kind of all made for you. And the actual experience itself is more organic.
And you have to make the skills to do it.
Yes, you have to build up the mastery.
Exactly.
First to master archery.
It's interesting, man. Like, cause I feel like I don't know how many people really understand that. Like, I like to imagine that people are like me, but I meet some people and I'm like, whoa. You're just satisfied with Amazon? What? Like you don't care that Jeff Bezos is Satan? I don't know. Whatever. Allegedly. Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard? What?
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like, people that have, like, I don't know. Well, we have Prime. We have DoorDash. We have Uber Eats. Like, you can get any. You don't have to leave your house.
Yeah, I know. It's just
bro.
too easy. It's
crazy.
And you know what they hate? They hate the stuff I do. They all hate the stuff I do. It's like Uber Eats. Let's just go pick it up.
Yeah.
It's like, what about Amazon? Let's see if it's used on eBay so we don't have to make more e-junk. It's like, what's the other one?
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Let's go find a used one. Let's pay in cash and tell the guy to delete the listing and not mark it as sold so that they don't get accurate information.
And with DoorDash,
it's a good tip.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, just the fact that we have it so easy nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, the comfort, and you have YouTube, Netflix, unlimited entertainment. I mean, there's just so many reasons that you want to stay, be comfortable, and
be the NPC,
push your boundaries.
Yeah, don't do it.
That's the environment that we're in.
It is. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It's that simple. Like, you know what I mean? Just don't do it. If it matters to you that, like, I don't know, the next generation has something salvageable, like, just don't do it, dude. Like, don't do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. Let's talk about AI, man. Let's go down this rabbit hole. We're engineers. Okay. This is gonna be an interesting thing to discuss.
GPT. What do you want to start with?
Yeah. So it is an easy one, right? Because we're both musicians. You're a DJ, right? If your audience doesn't know, you're an aspiring DJ. We're gonna get you more shows because you've already performed more than once.
Yeah, man. First gig I ever got was a music festival, thanks to this guy. So, shout out.
DJ Orban.
Shout out Protagon.
Yeah.
Protagon Music.
Check
him out.
Protagonist without the ist. Be a protagonist. Anyway, the music AI is so good. There was like a thing that came out on it where it was like I don't know, I watched some TED Talk or some shit, but there was like in Carnegie or Berkeley, one of these big music schools, they had a Beethoven piece. They had an AI generated like Beethoven mimic piece, and then the one professor wrote his own piece. And there was supposed to be like a panel, and then all three were played. So he played the Beethoven piece, he played his piece, and then the AI thing played its piece. And people could not discern between them. They thought the Beethoven piece was the AI generated thing.
Wow.
Insane.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, and it's very good, and it disgusts me. Because the art is also great. Like, and me, like, as someone who's like visually art impaired or whatever you want to call it, like, I'm not like a visual artist in terms of like creating art. Maybe I can do video well. I have ideas for that, but that's it. It's incredible, and I was using it for a lot of things. I even used it in the making of the Protagon logo for my band.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never use it for my music in this project.
For like writing,
It's scary, and it's like and you have these robots coming out now. Did you watch the Cold Fusion episode that I sent?
Yeah, they're getting.
It's pretty crazy, man, and it's and they're gonna figure out how to do manual labor stuff now.
Right, warehouse work.
Yep. Yeah. And they're gonna take the driving jobs and things like whatever. Allegedly, right? Like there's probably in our lifetime there will always be humans doing the jobs AI can do. I think it'll take more than a lifetime of a human lifespan to completely phase out humans from a thing, a whole industry. I mean, like jobs will change. But they'll the humans doing some of the finer things are always going to be there, and thank God for that. In my opinion, I could be fucking wrong. Well, maybe we'll all be fucking cyborgs next year. I don't know.
You never know. Like it's been exponential.
And it continues to like Moore's law, right? Like technology doubles every 18 months.
Right.
I think it holds true.
But it's it's. With that one, it's reaching a limit where you have like quantum tunneling in like semiconductors.
Yeah, indeed. And this is an interesting theory, but like the capabilities of the computers are vastly greater because of cloud computing and doing things like that. Yep. You're taking whole data centers to do the job that was previously impossible, and now the capabilities of the software instead of the hardware are the things doubling. With the algorithms and the machine learning.
Yeah, because hardware has kind of reached the limit of like physical distance.
I feel like it meets limits, right? And then like this other thing will be the thing that gets doubled, like battery life,
Then you expand outwards. Like I don't know. I just think of like the phones. How the phones are getting smaller and smaller, and now they're getting larger. It's like you have more space, you have more compute power because you've reached your limit with the smallness. So you just gotta scale up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think I'm really hoping I'm right. I think we were talking about this at the rave. Like there could be AI raves, and they could be amazing. No human really doing it. You just kind of press a button, let it control the lights, which is a tough job.
Yeah,
let it control the music. Let it control the projectors. What's going on?
Number of like a playlist, and it'll mix it for you. You could synthesize an entire set,
and it'll be amazing. And the layperson that doesn't care about the source and only cares about the output, which is a very common thing for consumerism as we exist in it, won't give a shit. But I think the music that I make, it doesn't draw the biggest crowds, but the crowds are there for this experience of like seeing a live band. It's one of the reasons I'm going to do a little pluggy here. It's one of the reasons at my shows I have like quests, right? Like you be a protagonist is a real thing. Like we have quests for you to do. Like, oh no, like we have a locked box, and then can someone like use these lock picks to get in? We bring an immersive experience to music where I think like merging the CTF part of like my passions with my music is like something I've never tried before, but I think it's a cool idea. And I genuinely do think it's a crazy cool idea, and I think it'll grow it will create traction. We've only been doing it for a couple months, but
I think so too. You guys have the drive and the enthusiasm. Yeah. I've seen you guys play.
Yeah.
You seem very, you're passionate about what you guys do.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
I like the degree of like seriousness.
Yeah.
I like just like I don't know, something I just like admire about you is like your drive and
Yeah,
how,
thanks, man.
how serious you take your endeavors, but at the same time how not serious you take yourself.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah. Well said, man.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Goofy as hell.
Yeah, because
but
yeah,
but like,
and what's funny is like you ever get perceived as someone that like maybe this happened to you like where you visit like a school. I know you've done like things at schools where like you've explained to some engineering students like so like this is how like you do X, Y, and Z with JavaScript, X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah, right? And then like they might look at you like, oh man, this guy's like a really experienced engineer, blah blah blah. But then like you go and like have conversations with them after the big meeting, and you're eating a bagel, and you're like, oh shit, dude, you guys do this like too?
Yeah.
That's funny. And then like hit them with a Fortnite thing or whatever, and they're like, whoa. Like,
you kind of like go down to their like level. Not that there's levels, but you just get real with them. You become grounded. Yeah. You know,
like for me, like the mohawk is intimidating. Like it's funny. Like I don't realize I have a mohawk sometimes
at shows, or like how does that?
Well, like like I'm just like this big metal dude, like not really, but like you know what I mean, like it's like you know, but then like people start realizing like, oh, he's kind of a goof, like you know, he's just trying to do silly shit. This is cool.
Have a beer with you afterwards. And they're just like, yo, he's just.
But even like in the music scene, right? Like people like I wear like a shirt that says like MMA, and they're like, oh shit, this dude fights, but I'm like a goofball. It's like, dude, look at him playing fucking Peppa Pig over here. What the fuck is this guy? You know? So like it's just like. It's interesting because, like, you think about like a tattooed biker guy. Like, he probably is like, "Oh, I love cupcakes." You know what I mean? Like, you know, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I'll take a tasty cake.
Yeah, these are delicious. Yeah.
And kind of the similar thing about like a rabbit hole I went into is obviously like philosophy and all that. And people who are like very stoic and serious and like they're like, "Yes, like this is nirvana." It's like, bro, just lighten up a little bit, bro.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to put on this like facade of someone who is stoic, someone who doesn't let their emotions like get to them. Like it's fine to get riled up a little bit, you know?
I think like being stoic is a good way to like it's a good like home base thing for me, but you gotta be able to jump out of that and like experience, because the moment is silly sometimes. Sometimes you gotta get a little silly.
It is silly.
Yeah, you gotta let it be silly if it's gonna be silly. You know, get in there.
Yeah. Don't resist the silliness.
And be like, be loud and
be
passionate
rambunctious
when it's time. Yeah, you know, these are important things too. But just coming back, this is like a question I really wanted to ask you. Like, just coming, like we can not talk about AI after this, but I was gonna ask you like what does AI mean to human fulfillment in that context, in your opinion? Like where do you think it's going? Where do you think human like fulfillment is gonna go as we dive into this more and more automated world?
Well, so as AI is getting better and better, and it's like starting to, I see it as like the jobs thing, like where it starts making jobs more efficient for people. It's kind of like we have to reassess our priorities. Like you're gonna have more free time if AI like takes your job, but if you have this free time, like people are still going to want you to work 8 hours a day. I feel like not many people are on board yet with the reduced.
Yeah,
you know, because that's what should
the universal basic income, right?
Yeah, like that's what kind of, there is no should, but if our priorities were more aligned with living our lives as opposed to working, then it just makes sense to reduce the working day when AI gets like really good at it. But like, what are we going to do that?
Yeah, but let's say like if we get universal basic income, we have to work half as much. But now the rich keep getting richer, and they start exercising more and more control. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's inevitable? Do you think like the next generations are kind of doomed to that, right? Because like I don't know, like I'm not trying to turn this into like a doomer chat, but I just like to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because I can't bounce these ideas off of too many people that get it. Mm-hmm. But like large corporations own more farmland, or other countries, like big entities own more farmland and control like our food resources more now than like any other time in human history, like other than like some Genghis Khan type conquest shit
Yeah.
in like a stable time, right? Like it's just really interesting. Like do you think we're going to be stuck in
You
some
think
kind of like rat race sort of thing? I just anticipate like
Wall-E? Have you ever seen that movie?
yeah, dude.
Something like that, where
that would be pretty rough, right? Where
everyone's just floating
consumerism just
around.
kind of like exactly, in the ship,
chairs.
and then when like it's like, yo, Earth is cool, it's like, nah, bruh,
Yeah.
y'all staying in this ship. I am the captain now. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I mean that's the one way is the consumerism, and then the other
Yeah.
one that you were talking about is like, where do the humans get? Where can you find fulfillment?
Like
in a world
if
where
AI
AI
is creating art, right? Like, because like I look at this in terms of like the consumerism and capitalism model, right? Like it's like, well, if AI is making all the great music that people are consuming, and Sony Pictures is just making all the money off of like all this music, and they're the ones making these crazy great shows, and that everyone's going to, all the young kids are going to see, you know, Taylor the Robot Swift, you know what I mean? That's just a machine now. Why do I like? Why should I even make music? And I think like it comes to a point where it's like you need to make it for you, and like
Exactly.
So it's just interesting, like at that point, right? Because it's like you have nothing else but to do things for you.
Yes,
And it's just a weird thing
yeah,
because like the thing that comes after that is like I don't know if that's the kind of thing that's gonna break away from the authoritarianism, whatever shape that might take.
well, I mean, as long as we're exercising our sense of control because we think that we can control reality as a collective, like we're gonna keep running into these problems,
Yeah.
and it goes back to relinquishing that control and just letting reality kind of work its magic. Like
Yeah.
let you work your magic. And I would say the not the best thing to do, but something that you can try is follow this energy that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And if you were
Keep the mic close.
oh shit,
It's
yeah.
all good. It's all good.
If you're I think it's gonna no. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
We're good. Yeah, it's all an expression of trying to control reality.
Yeah.
If Sony is making so much money based off of because maybe they trademarked an AI music generator and someone that can mimic like the voice of any singer in history. It's it's for profit because they're still embodying this like, yeah, but I still need more for me because they're seeing themselves as an idea. It's just like letting go of that idea and just recognizing where your sense of control comes from.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a fear. It's a fear response because you're afraid of the unknown, so you try to control it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Do you foresee, like, in your opinion, what's the most realistic negative outcome from AI, like in your lifetime? Do you see like what's like one of the most problematic things AI is going to bring? And that'll be my last question on the topic.
yeah, no problem. It's interesting because I if it like dulls the human spirit in the way that like school does, like going to school, then I would say maybe we have to rethink this whole AI thing because I really want to rethink like the education system, how it extinguishes the human spirit.
Yeah.
Because we all have that drive in us and something that we just want to create, and like if it gets snuffed out because AI is doing all of it for you, I mean, it comes back again to just doing things for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. The only reason to do it is for its own sake. I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just thinking,
I'm
like,
sure.
that makes sense, right? Just
Mhm.
extinguishing the human spirit. It's general enough that it's a real thing. Like, you're boiling it down. It doesn't matter what form it takes. If that's what it ends up doing, that's the worst thing. I like that. That answers my question. Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You have any questions for me?
Shit. I feel like I asked a
Oh,
lot.
and we were talking about Gavin too. So he's about to be 15, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or he is 15, right? I'll say one.
Do you
want to
like? I might do a time check.
Yeah, for sure. But I'll say like one other
Yeah.
thing about him, right? Is yeah, like it's this weird extension of yourself where like when you have a child, you want him. Maybe I wanted him to be as much like me as he could. I'm like, he'll be fine if he's like me. Like, I'm handling a lot of really cool stuff all the time, and I feel fulfilled. And my success is not defined by conventional things, and I feel like that's a cool thing too. You know what I mean? Like, I like the fast car. I like, you know what I mean? But I don't need $1 million house. You know, I have the things I want, right?
Right. Yeah, you're fulfilled.
But then I'm like, whoa, there's no possible way I can give him my upbringing.
Yeah,
and my upbringing sucked in a lot of ways.
He has a completely
could be way
different
better than
upbringing
him.
than you.
And a lot of the things I grew up on don't even apply to the world he's in. Maybe. So it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. It's such a weird quasi, like, it makes you ponder, bro. I don't know how else to say it, but it makes you think a lot. And I think like the one thing I always come back to is like, what's the most effective way for me to get my point across to him about things, right? And for me, it's like, well, I can't give him a new 15 years, but I can make core memories now. You've never done a Spartan race. You've never had a good leader to show you what it means to prepare for battle and take, like, man, whatever, Spartan race. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, you never had someone, you never really trained for, like, a big event.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think, like, building this temple so that it's ready for the day of, you know, the proving time it's a cool thing when you realize, like, my machine didn't work the way I wanted it to, or it worked really great in these ways. And I can't wait for the next challenge. Or it failed me here. I need to patch this part of the machine so that it works great next time. And then a new thing will fail, you know.
You learn a lot.
Troubleshooting this machine is
a
cool
dude.
thing.
You know, you can debug as many programs as you like, but the most important thing to debug is what's going on in you, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it all comes from.
Time's good.
Yeah, we're at like 2:15, so 2 hours 15.
Is this your longest podcast?
Oh yeah, dude.
Wow.
Shout out,
yeah.
yo.
Yeah, for sure, man.
We went at it.
Yeah, dude. Last 15 minutes, right? Like, or 5, whatever you want to take. Like, take control. Is there anything that you missed that you wanted to get into?
Yeah, we'll do some closing thoughts.
Yeah.
I'll ask one question here. So, just kind of, you know, I have no idea what kind of audience I'm building right now, but it tends towards, like, just life, really, and like what kind of is inspiring to me, which is like dualistic unity and talking about reality. So, and the theme, you know, ebb and flow, is like, the definition is like something that is repeated, like that has a back and forth nature of it. And, you know, I would say life is very reflective of the back and forth nature of the duality of existence. You know, you need a spectrum in order to experience both sides of it. So when as you're going through the ebbs and flows of your life, what's something that you can remind yourself of, that this is just a part of life and it's not something really to take too seriously, because it can lead you down a rabbit hole?
Oh yeah, this is a great question, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember few years ago. I don't know what happened. I just had a shitty day in some capacity. Where like I realized something I was trying to do or achieve that was in my purview for a good amount of time. Something came on the news where like something squashed the ability for that thing to thrive. Like maybe it was something like I don't know, some software thing. I'm sure it was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, you know, they're getting. It's probably like, I don't know what the fuck it was. I can't remember, to be honest. I'm trying to like make an example. Like, oh, YouTube changed ad revenue, so you can't make money on YouTube. It wasn't that, but it's something like that. Where like, oh, dude, I keep forgetting. Fucking Google controls the world. Oh, and I was training with my friend, and I'm like, dude, why do we do this? Like, why? Sometimes I'll sit there and I'll ask myself, like, why do I run open source software when it's like it takes me way longer to do it when I could just buy shit, right? Like, why do I go through X, Y, and Z method of doing this when people tend to just do A, B, and C because it's the easy way and they don't care about the implications and things like that? I'm like, why not do the sheep methodology? Why be the sheepdog that watches and chooses their own path rather than the Vegas curated one?
Mm-hmm.
And my friend told me we do these things because they are the right thing to do. That's the only reason we need. And that shit resonated with me, like yours. And I love to say that quote because it was very deep, right? It's like, to be, if you want to be X, sometimes you need to be Y, right? If you want to be fit, you can't choose the donuts and the Netflix every night because the consequences are that you aren't afforded those things that having an athletic build gets you. You can't play sports, whatever, some simple things. It's like you can't play Gears of War because you're a Sony guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, you're never going to learn Beethoven because you pick guitar. You know what I mean? Whatever it might be. And, you know, if you want to be someone who is relied on, like Michael, I try to define it in certain ways, but it's like, not to be cringy, but it's like if you want to be a man, you have to be able to do man things. You have to do man things. If you're going to be the people who matter to you in your life's rock when a tragedy occurs, you need to practice some stoicism. You need to have dealt with difficult things. You need to like do some jujitsu and harden your body and mind so that like when, you know, someone tries to confront you about something, you already did something way harder than what this is yesterday, and it's nothing to you. It's of no consequence what happens. So for me, it's like I want to be this reliable person to the people I love. Like it's as simple, like bringing it down to something as simple as that example. I must be a good martial artist if I want to defend them in some kind of conflict, right? If I'm going to be reliable in X, Y, and Z way, I need to do, you know, X.
Yeah. It sounds like you're just taking responsibility for your existence.
100%.
These are, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control your response to it. And that's where maybe that's the etymology of responsibility. And at the end of the day, it's your existence, it's your story, and it's all you. And you can be whatever you want. There is no limits. The only limit is your own mind. So, yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap.
Man.
If you're down, if you want to plug.
I'll plug away at a few projects. So, anyone out there who needs anything live streamed or any media help, hit up my production company, Rose Hunter Productions. Majority of the crew are martial artists, so you will have martial artists filming martial arts if you have a martial arts promotion, and that's one of the things we pride ourselves with. In addition to that, I have a band. It's called Protagon, like protagonist without the ist. You can find that at protagon.music on Instagram, and you can look us up at Protagon on Spotify and anywhere you get your music. Our music is for humans.
For the spirit.
Yes. And definitely come check us out live if you're in Pennsylvania, or book us somewhere else and we'll come. And if you want to follow me directly and all the shenanigans that I do and where my podcast will be, I'm Brad E.L. Bard, Brad L. Bard on all the socials. I would have been Brad the Bard, but someone took that one. So I'm Puerto Rican. I'll do
A little
L.
bit of Latino.
Yeah,
in
so I
it,
throw it
yep.
in there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. One final segment or word that I'll end with is meet your heroes, right? Because if your heroes disappoint you, you'll know that you need to make new ones.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. Well, thank you, Brad. Thank you so much for letting me use your studio.
Honored.
And for being an awesome kick-ass guest. I think this episode's gonna be fire, and I know it is. It's already because we had that chemistry.
Great chat for sure.
Yeah. So
longest one in the book. It felt like an hour, right?
I know, dude.
That's when you know. That's why I said like 2.5. I'll bet you we'll go 2.5.
Yeah, I initially said an hour, and then he was like, "Yeah, how about?"
I think we got some stuff to talk about, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I don't really, we can go
Yeah.
over. Like, I don't really have a time limit.
Yeah.
Like, so
For sure. This is a great time to stop.
yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
So, thank you
All
guys
right.
as well for watching the episode, and definitely support Ben in his journey, because Ben is gonna bring really good things to the world, and you should support him in that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.